And now, the feature presentation.
And welcome to the inaugural edition of the Secluded Paradyme. I'm your host, Specson, here on InYourHeadOnline.com. Well, it's a great pleasure to present this show to you today. It's something I've been working on for the last few weeks, and in case you were not able to check out the preview to the show, or you happen to check out the preview, this is just a little reminder in regards to what the show is actually going to be about. Now, the Secluded Paradyme will be a 10 to 15 minute show depicting a singles wrestler, a faction, or a tag team in the sport of professional wrestling through its history. Now, there's several tag teams, there's several factions, and there's several singles wrestlers to discuss. Now, this is not just based on my own personal appeal to these wrestlers. It will stretch so many different wrestlers or superstars that, perhaps I never really enjoyed, but I would just like to get a deeper understanding towards what their characters were based about, how successful they were during their careers, or how they were not so successful during their careers in the industry. Now, the Secluded Paradyme, I'm very proud to present this on InYourHeadOnline.com, which I personally believe is one of the top, highest tier wrestling shows around in regards to making the show feel fan friendly and presenting a great atmosphere for all wrestling fans of all ages around. Whether you are a casual fan, whether you are a hardcore wrestling fan, regardless, make sure you check out InYourHeadOnline.com. It's great. The message boards are fantastic. I've been there for 2.5 years, and I have to honestly say it's most definitely the best internet wrestling atmosphere that I've personally ever been around. But that's just a quick plug for that show. But in regards to the Secluded Paradyme, once again, a tag team, a singles, or a faction, whatever, in the history of professional wrestling. Well, the first group that will be featured on the Paradyme really needs it really doesn't need that much introduction. However, all I have to do is simply this. Now, if you don't quite understand what this means in particular, all you have to do is check this out.
The Four Horsemen comprised a level of excellence that many could only dream of achieving in the sport of professional wrestling. Although there were several twists and turns along the way from the tail end of 1988 and a large majority of 1989, this impressive faction recaptured its dominance from the 1980s during the very early stages of 1990. As Nature Boy Ric Flair as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion for the 6th time, the group was at its apex. With the return of The Rock Ole Anderson in a managerial capacity, and T.C. Anderson's kayfabe father, the enforcer A.A. Arn Anderson, from his stint with the World Wrestling Federation, one might suggest that this would be enough for the superstars of World Championship Wrestling to handle for now. However, the Horsemen had other tricks up their sleeves. After booting Sting out of the group, former United States Heavyweight Champion Big Barry Windham rejoined the faction. Skyscraper Sid Vicious would soon follow. Whether you cheered or jeered this version of the Horsemen, one thing is very clear. They kicked off the new decade of World Championship Wrestling with a big bang and created several memories that are still talked about to this day. It's with great pleasure that I present the Four Horsemen of 1990 on the Secluded Paradyme.
Yes, peeps, the Four Horsemen of 1990 in World Championship Wrestling. What a collection of characters and a faction that was during that particular year for that company and for the sport in general. You're talking about Barry Windham, as mentioned in the piece, coming off his stint from the World Wrestling Federation as just a very bad gimmick all around, you say, for a wrestler of the caliber of Barry Windham to be portrayed in that kind of fashion. You would think that there would be a lot more opportunities for him in the World Wrestling Federation during that time. But as we see with the likes of Terry Taylor and the Red Rooster, that's not always the case for Vinnie Mac and company. But nevertheless, Barry Windham made his return to World Championship Wrestling. I remember the last time that he was there, he was participating at Chi-Town Rumble of 1989, of February of 1989, in which he lost the United States Heavyweight Championship to Lex Luger in a pretty decent match, but he had injury problems after that match, and I believe during the match he had some injury problems as well. It just continued to surface after that, and eventually he left the company and went to the World Wrestling Federation. And you're also talking about a guy like Sid Vicious. Now, some people have mixed opinions in regards to Sid Vicious into the Horsemen. Now, I'm one of those that thinks that I thought the guy was pretty good for his role and for what the Horsemen were during this particular year, this particular run of the faction. He was sort of like the Batista of Evolution, in which he became during Batista's run with that group. He's not quite an enforcer, but he's a young bad you-know-what that's still learning on the fly, but he can really help the Horsemen out in that just one punch that they need to stay ahead of the competition, of the likes of Sting, Lex Luger, and etc. But also look at the entire year of 1990. It was a very interesting year all around, and a year of change. That's a good word to put it for the professional wrestling industry. We're talking about Hulk Hogan. Losing the World Wrestling Federation Championship against the Ultimate Warrior, who was the Intercontinental Champion, at WrestleMania 6 at the then Skydome, now Rogers Center, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, in April of 1990. Warrior becoming essentially the first guy to simultaneously hold the Intercontinental and WWE Championships, respectively. And then you fast forward to the Great American Bash in 1990, another great year held at the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland.